the three directors and movie makers that made comic book movies turn into a joke. I mean, you cannot make this up. It's the same exact formula. Let's start with what started all. Joss Whedon, which was considered the godfather of comic book movies, who's done obviously and directed the Avengers 1 and 2. Basically, 1 was really good. He introduced the Avengers after a couple of initial movies to introduce the Avengers, you know, whether it's Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. First movie was fine. There was some comedy here and there, but it's fine. But because it was done under, I think, Paramount, if I wasn't mistaken, and they didn't have the full Marvel Studios. When the Marvel Studios started working, then they went full comedy with Joss Whedon, especially with Part 2. Part 2 was a joke with what's his name? I can't remember, the villain who kind of goes through computers and everything. The thing is, if you notice, there's a pattern with these directors. Like even with James Gunn, who did the Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, and 3. 1 was fine, 2 was a joke fest, 3 was unwatchable. I tried to watch it, I just couldn't, finish 5 or 10 minutes. It was just cringy, especially after knowing about this guy's background. So you can see the pattern. 1 or 2 movies, they become too jokey. 1 or 2 movies, then they become too jokey. And of course, there's Taika Waititi, okay? Again, this guy, he did some indie movies. He was really good when he first started. What We Do in the Shadows and whatever. And of course, he was pulled into Marvel. As usual, when he did the third Thor movie, fine, I guess. It was too jokey, to be honest, but again, watchable to a certain extent. But then, of course, there was Thor Love and Blunder, which was a huge flop. You remember, with the goats laughing and everything, which is an old kind of dead joke. Even Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor in the movie, criticized the movie and called it a joke, basically, and not even a funny one. And Chris Hemsworth, I think, is a really good actor, and he deserves better than these movies. The problem with these three, yes, they did kind of bring more attention to the comic book movie genre, especially Joss Whedon, because, he was one of the first few ones. But James Gunn and Taika Waititi took it to a whole new level. I mean, it was started by, obviously, with, what's his name? Joss Whedon. But the other two, their comedy is just too much. And the most disgusting one is, obviously, James Gunn. So it's very ironic that the three guys who kind of brought comic book movies into attention, I'm talking about Marvel, of course, they are the same three ones who are causing its destruction, basically. Joss